And we're live.
Hey everybody, this is the CLE group chat. Today is August 26, 2017, and my name is Joshua. With us we have Jeannie from Australia, Donna from Indiana. Also from Indiana we have Christopher, who started this ministry. Now we're only allowing our church group on these video calls, but you can still watch and use a live chat and share this video with family and friends to watch it with you live. And if you're watching a recording of this and prefer to watch it as it happens, make sure you're subscribed and click the bell. And that should let you know when we're live, so you can chat with other live viewers during the broadcast. Now, without further ado, we have a report from The Independent titled, "Pastor Eaten by Crocodile After Trying to Walk on Water Like Jesus." The article says, a pastor in Zimbabwe has been eaten alive by crocodiles after he attempted to show his congregation he could walk on water. Jonathan Mithwa of the Saint of the Last Days Church in White River, Mpumalanga, died after walking 30 meters into a crocodile-infested river. The pastor walked into the...
Wait. Hey, everybody. I'm going to walk on water like Jesus. After the first step, why didn't he stop? It wasn't working. 30 meters. Now, that would be, I don't know, maybe a tall guy, one and a half to 2 steps, maybe, right? Am I wrong about that? Does that sound about right? 1.5 to 2 steps for a meter. 30 meters. So anywhere from 45 to 60 steps, he's like, hold on, we'll try it one more time. It's not working. Hang on. Let me. Okay, got to get the magic. And so what really in reality happened is he had a mix-up of spiritual gifts. His spiritual gift was not walking on water. It was the crocodile whisperer.
The pastor walked into the river known locally as Crocodile River and attempted to ascend above the water before walking across it, according to Zimbabwe Today.
Okay, I thought only the Roadrunner could do that. Like, I didn't think that was possible for people. Did he think he was going to get, like, if he just moved his legs fast enough, he'd get up there? Because you got to imagine this guy. I mean, he's 30 meters out in crocodile waters deep enough that the guy was probably chest deep in water. Because think about that for a moment. That's what you would need for that to happen, right? So what he's probably doing is trying to climb up on top of the water like a shelf, and he's splashing around, which is basically a gigantic, almost like a neon sign for like, hey, crocodiles, who's hungry? I'm sure he was delicious.
He was attacked by 3 crocodiles and drowned in front of his congregation. They finished him in a couple of minutes, Deacon Nkosi told the newspaper. All that was left of him when they finished eating him was a pair of sandals and his underwear floating above the water.
See, these crocodiles know how to take what's clean and leave what's unclean. They are very kosher crocodiles.
He later told the Herald Zimbabwe the pastor had intended to demonstrate his faith on the day he died. We still don't understand how this happened because he fasted and prayed a whole week.
Do we know that he fasted like a biblical fast, or did he just like fast his favorite activity?
I don't know.
We don't know. See, they don't say that either. But on top of that, I mean, there are people who do, like, I mean, I've heard of Catholics who've done legitimate, like fasting and praying over stuff. That doesn't mean it's going to work. I mean, when you're fasting to a false god out of a false ministry, number one, that doesn't mean it's going to work. Number two, I mean, this comes back to a thing, and I guess I'm sorry I'm stalling. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. It's coming back to that thing that I was talking about where Jesus said it's a wicked and adulterous generation that seeketh after a sign, right? And that even when I was reading the book of Acts just today and looking at specifically how there was a group of men that were chosen to go and minister to widows, a group of 7 men in the church. And this was the early church. There were some who were veterans, some who were brand new converts to and been born again. It said they were all filled with the Holy Spirit, but only Stephen was the one who had the authority, and which is the power. That's what power means, is authority. He had the authority to go and do the miracles of, you know, raising the dead and healing the lepers and all that stuff, right? So they were all filled with the Holy Ghost, but only one had the authority to perform certain miracles, and it was only at that time and for a specific purpose. And he had a specific purpose there. So it's what we're looking at today is people like, I want to go, you know, speak in a bunch of different languages and get a bunch of people saved. Because he thought, okay, I guarantee you, now you don't have to tell me, this guy probably thought, if I show these people I can walk on water, that'll demonstrate my faith. A bunch of people get saved. It'll, you know, word will get out. We'll get a whole bunch of people saved. When they're typically in places like that, they're in churches that are filled with a bunch of false converts that still worship and practice their paganism and claim to believe on Jesus. But I guess the point I'm making is that they continually seek after these special types of gifts where they think there's a bunch of people going to get saved like they did at Pentecost. And that's why, what was it? Was it 1 Corinthians 14? Or I can't remember the exact chapter where Paul addresses those people and he explains to them the problem with this stuff. And what they're really seeking after is a desperation in their own heart for them to have the power to save a bunch of people when it's God decides who is saved and who's not. And on top of that, what people forget when you're reading scripture and it says, okay, 5,000 were saved in a day, you realize that the total population of the people in that area was not 5,000, right? So you have to understand there's a whole lot of people that were seeing the stuff done and didn't believe anyway. So that's why the Bible says, blessed are those who believe and have not seen.
Instead of saving the congregation, I think they probably traumatized the congregation.
Yeah, you see, so when it didn't work, how many people lost their faith? And think about that. And if you were in a false church, I would say that's a good thing. If you lose your faith out of that, then you'll go out seeking the truth. So maybe some of those things are a blessing from God. But one way or another, can we all agree that that man was judged by God? After all, the Bible does say that God rules over all the animals. He commands them directly. It says there's not one sparrow that goes unnoticed, that's not shot without his authority, right? That's the New Testament teaches us. So then I would have to say God had full understanding of where those crocodiles were. And I don't know what these people believe. We can't, this article is not going to tell us what they believe. If they do say something, they're going to give us something superficial. They would say, oh, they were Christians. Well, that doesn't tell us much, because if we believe everyone is a Christian, then, you know, most of the world is saved. And that doesn't make any sense with Scripture. It doesn't make any sense with what we see. So until we know more about that, we're not going to know exactly everything that happened. We can only presume based on the few amount of facts we have.
Emergency services arrived at the scene 30 minutes after the incident, but Mr. Mithwa had already been declared dead by locals. End of article. And the next article, and keep in mind this next article is back in July, so it's not as recent as they make it sound, because it's an old article, month old. A report from CNN is titled, Pence, that's the Mike Pence, the vice president, right? Pence, we will put American boots on the face of Mars. Vice President Mike Pence vowed Thursday that the United States will send astronauts to the moon and Mars, setting new goals for American space exploration under the Trump administration. Here, from this bridge to space, our nation will return to the moon and we will put American boots on the face of Mars, said Pence.
And Pence, now, who is Pence again? I'm sorry.
The vice president.
Oh, the vice president. I'm sorry. I'm so.
He used to be of Indiana. That's how I know him.
He was.
And I actually met him once.
Wait. He was what of Indiana?
He was the governor of Indiana.
I didn't even know that. Did not even know that. See, that's how ignorant I am on some of that stuff. I don't know who some of these men are, but being governor of Indiana, he's only going to know it has broadcasted to him. And so after making this announcement and setting forth a plan, he's going to meet with certain people And what I believe is going to happen is either NASA is going to go along with the song and dance. I don't know. There's a few options here. They're either going to go along with the song and dance and do it anyway, like make the people believe that's what they're doing. Two, he's going to meet some representatives that are going to explain to him how things actually work. Or number three, he's already been explained to how things actually work and has been chosen to be the face of a new front to go forward with a new plan to deceive more people about what's going on. So that's a tough one to call.
Delivering remarks to NASA employees at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, Pence applauded the space organization's efforts toward making science fiction science fact and reaffirmed President Donald Trump's commitment to NASA's mission of exploration and discovery. The American space program has a champion in the President of the United States, Pence said, adding that the White House plans to usher in a new era of American space leadership. Pence also said, space is vital to American national security interests, promising, I can assure you that under President Donald Trump, American security will be as dominant in the heavens as we are here on Earth. Florida Senators Bill Nelson and Marco Rubio.
Nobody's going to know anything about what's really going on. That's what that would mean. Nobody's going to have any clue of what's actually going on. And I don't know how. No, I'm not going to say anything else.
Florida Senators Bill Nelson and Marco Rubio, Representative Bill Pazzi and Ron DeSantis, State Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Commissioner of Agriculture Adam Putnam were in attendance at Thursday's event. And if you actually watch his speech, I watched the beginning of it, Buzz Aldrin was also there. But the article doesn't...
Another one of the key liars in the whole thing. Again, I brought this up in past talks we've done, and I'll mention it again. I mean, I listened directly to a NASA engineer on a demonstration. It was a demonstration video where they said, look, we're going to release this probe into space. We're going to get it up there, but then we're not going to be able to escort it very far past the atmosphere. We're just going to shoot it off into space because of the Van Allen radiation belt. He says, we haven't figured out a way to get people past that yet. He says, but that's something that we're working on. Wait, what? Well, how did they do it in 1969? And 1970, 1971, and 1972, and then why did America never send anybody else back to the moon since then? Why is it suddenly being brought back up now? Finally figure out how to do it? Did they not want to tell people they figured out how to do it, so that way they didn't figure out that we didn't actually go back then? Or I don't know what they're going to do.
The White House did not immediately respond to CNN's request for more details Thursday afternoon. Last Friday, President Donald Trump issued an executive order to revive the National Space Council, which was originally established in 1989 by President George H.W. Bush, but was discontinued in 1993. Pence, who is the new chair of the National Space Council.
Discontinued in 1993 to help fight against the national debt because we're wasting our money.
Pence, who is the new chair of the National Space Council, pledged to reconvene the council in the coming months and plans on holding the first meeting of the National Space Council before the summer is out. Pence added that the council will bring together experts from government agencies, the military, private industries, and academic institutions to enhance the Trump administration's space policy.
I don't want to open up a can of worms here, but it kind of sounds like that's being correlated with the alien disclosure project that's going on right now. So we'll see if that has anything to do with it either. And which, by the way, all the alien stuff, it's demonic. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying it's of the devil. These are devils that are working with different governments around the world. So that's a different issue, but I just want to bring it up because it made me think of that. I was like, you're wondering if this is correlating somehow with that. I don't know.
In a press release last Friday, acting NASA Administrator Robert Lightfoot praised the Trump administration for reviving the National Space Council and supporting NASA's space exploration efforts.
By the way, Kevin, who's our biochemical engineer in our church, he was the one. He's on the chat right now. He's talking about it, and he said they claim that they lost all their drawings and designs of the spacecraft from the 1960s. And I've heard that before too. They said, well, it was in a file cabinet somewhere, and I guess it must all got destroyed somehow. What they claim to be the most iconic moment in United States history, we're like, oopsie daisy, where'd it go? Really? We're going to believe that? I mean, if NASA's that incompetent, why are they still getting funding?
Maybe they lost it when they blew up part of the Pentagon, possibly. I don't know.
The establishment of the council was another demonstration of the Trump administration's deep interest in our work and a testament to the importance of space exploration to our economy, our nation, and the planet as a whole, Lightfoot said. Trump has tutored the future of space exploration in the past, even saying in his inaugural address in January that the U.S. is ready to unlock the mysteries of space. In March, Trump signed a bill authorizing funding for NASA's space operations, aeronautics, technology, and educational programs for 2017. However, calls for the exploration of Mars are not new to the Trump administration. In an op-ed published on CNN last fall, outgoing President Barack Obama set a clear goal to send humans to Mars by the 2030s and have them return to Earth safely, with the ultimate ambition to one day remain there for an extended time. In 2014, President George W. Bush also announced an ambitious plan to return to the moon by 2020, with hopes of allocating enough NASA resources to reach Mars in the future. End of article.
And we've yet to hear why. Not one person gives a reason why. I doubt in the speech that you listened to, he gave a reason why. Did he?
I didn't listen to the whole speech. I only listened to like the first.
Okay, so it was too boring to even hear why. He should have started with why. The what doesn't matter, and the money is irrelevant until we hear the why first. Because without the why, we don't need to address money. We don't need to address what he's doing and all the technical aspects of it. So what they do is they don't talk about how much money it's going to cost, number one, which is an important factor. And number two, they handle delivering to us the information backwards to how it should be presented, because we need a why first. I cannot think of a single reason it would be necessary in any way. See, I actually just learned about I didn't know they were this, like I said, the media was all about this eclipse thing that happened recently. I guess you guys were probably familiar with it. I had no idea it happened. I just found out the other day. I happened to see a video that was posting, I guess it was entitled something along the lines of, it was funny clips from all sorts of news broadcasts from around the country that were covering the coverage of it. I almost threw up. I mean, I was getting nauseous to my stomach watching this. These people were crying in tears of emotion. They said, you don't know what it's like to look at it. It's just so amazing and beautiful. They're sun worshipers. It's unbelievable how much they worship the sun. And I think it's like they look into space and they're like, oh, wow. They worship the creature or the creation more than the creator, right? And so through some sort of emotion on that, I mean, when was this speech given?
I believe it was July, early July, I think.
Early July, so it didn't have any correlation to this. I thought it might have had correlation to it. I don't know. But maybe they planned for it to come around this time to have the same, try to get the money to do all this at the same time you're having this eclipse going on or something. I don't know, but it just.
Chris, it just strikes me funny that you would bring that up, because we watched it together, my sons and I, as an educational project. You know, we watched the footage and we had a different experience. I managed to get a Braille book about the eclipse, and it actually had tactile pictures of the sun and the moon and what it was supposed to look like. And you know, of course, we're not like crying or anything. We're just like, oh wow, that's neat. And we talked about the science behind it and what a wonderful world and what a wonderful universe God has made for us. And I just can't believe
Well,
how
it's like one of the things that even Lorraine and I were talking about the other day, to bring up what you were talking about, is that to think that the moon and sun distance in relation to each other is so perfectly calculated to fit into each other like that, and that just, oops, happened by random chance by the universe, is absurd. It's absurd. Any engineer will tell you that's absurd, unless they themselves are insane and they say, well, no, that might be possible. And so you've got to be kidding me. It's absurd. That's so perfectly dynamically calculated. You can't, I mean, when you're talking in terms of space and orbits, you can't sit here and say that's random chance stuff. So that's why the Bible says is that they have the evidence. They have all the evidence they need, but they hold the truth in unrighteousness, they said. So my point was, when I'm seeing people crying in worshiping the sun, that's sickening to me, and I absolutely hate it. So it's I was just mentioning that because I didn't know if that went along in correlation to what he was talking about there. I'm sorry.
The next article, a report from NBC Washington, is titled "Community Saddened by Deportation of Northern Virginia Pastor." A Northern Virginia community is grieving after a well-loved pastor was deported to Peru. Pastor Juan...
Then eaten by a crocodile.
That was in Zimbabwe, but yeah, that would have been interesting if they were both the same person. But Pastor Juan Gutierrez was deported Thursday at the Virginia Interfaith Center for the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy announced. Gutierrez typically led a small service of about 10 to 20 members at his home every Saturday in Dumfries, Virginia. But that all changed earlier this summer. Gutierrez went to an Immigration and Customs Enforcement office for his usual check-in when he was suddenly taken into custody. I say, why? He do everything like the rules say, Gutierrez's wife, Arula Sicha, said. I was really surprised. I started to cry. Gutierrez came to the U.S. from Peru in 2002 with a visa to play music. Sicha, who is a U.S. citizen, became pregnant and he stayed to help her take care for their family. He received an order of removal from ICE in 2012. I understand my husband broke the rules of this country because he's here without the visa, but he's a good man, never do anything wrong. He's a pastor, he's a preacher, the word of God.
He never do anything wrong, but he broke the law. But he never do anything wrong, but he did break the law, but he doesn't do anything wrong. Do you see a circular pattern that's being formed here?
Yep. Sorry, lost my spot.
So can you summarize this for me? I mean, you've been reading back and forth on it, and I've been thinking about different things. Can you summarize what just happened in your own words?
Yeah, a preacher from Peru was deported because he wasn't a legal citizen.
From the U.S.
Yeah, back to
because his visa was up, right? But he chose to stay because someone got pregnant.
Yes.
Can anybody with your investigative and inquiring minds think of a reason why, when someone gets pregnant, he would suddenly want to stay in the U.S.? Anybody know?
That was his child?
His child, maybe?
Can anybody be a little more specific here? Do we not know the answer to this?
Couldn't he marry her and get a green card?
No. The point is, if you're born on U.S. soil, you're a U.S. citizen. He stayed back to keep her there so the child could become a U.S. citizen. That's the whole point. But he don't do anything wrong. He do nothing wrong. No.
Yep. An ICE official confirmed to News 4 that Gutierrez did not have a criminal record, writing in a statement. As DHS Secretary Kelly and acting ICE Director Holman have stated repeatedly, ICE prioritizes the arrest and removal of national security and public safety threats. However, no class or category of alien in the United States is exempt from arrest or removal. The Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy said Sitcha now fears the family will lose their home. We call on ICE to immediately
lose their home where?
In the United States, but then
where they are staying illegally. Do you see how the article is even using phrases? It's because it really doesn't belong to them. They're no longer citizens here. Okay. Now, of course, if they, well, hold on, we'll say this: if they bought a house here, you can be a citizen of another country and buy property here, as far as I know. Yes, you can own property in the United States. But that doesn't mean you're allowed to come to it if you're not a legal citizen here. You have to have the government's permission for that first. But you still have to pay your property taxes. You still have to do things like that. And if they can't pay them from outside the country, they don't have a way to do that, then, oh, are they going to lose their home? Yes. Yes, they will. So would we. And we're U.S. citizens. Why? You see how the article is making phrases about ownership and loss, about, oh, well, they were pregnant and they got walked out of the country. This article is singing a tune of sad woes for somebody who broke the law. They're not even considering that, hey, guess what? We're paying taxes for what they're doing here, and they are not. We're paying for it. Why do they need to have these special privileges? Why don't the taxpayers get special privileges? Well, the government has set it up so the taxpayers do get special privileges because they pay taxes, right? These people are driving on our roads. They are buying property in our country. These are our neighbors that are doing these things, so they need to become legal citizens. Now, I've known people who have to get U.S. citizenship. Even from places like Mexico, they have waited an entire 10 years to get their legal U.S. citizenship. And then when they got it, they moved here and they lived here legally. It is possible to do it. The problem is people just don't want to wait. They don't want to wait. They don't want to go through the proper channels that you need to go through. And so they just want to whine and complain because they know that our government is losing all of its men, that the feminists are castrating America, as I wrote about. And we're losing all our men. We're losing all our backbone. They said, well, if we become the squeaky wheel, if we whine enough, we'll get our way. That's what they're doing. So this article, where's this coming from? Who's this article from?
It's coming from NBC Washington or...
Oh, well, that makes sense. Never mind. Yeah, I know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, like the husband, he's not a citizen, but it says here that Sitcha, who is a U.S. citizen, so the wife is a U.S. citizen.
Wait, the wife's a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
When did she become a U.S. citizen?
I don't know.
It doesn't say, does it?
That
would play a factor.
Of course, it's not going to tell us when she became a U.S. citizen, because then there would be question of when did they get married and why isn't he a U.S. citizen? So it makes sense that they wouldn't tell us that piece of the puzzle because it's too important.
Okay, so what he didn't do is he wasn't staying there to make sure the child was a U.S. citizen. I apologize that I said that and gave everybody that impression. Now I understand more of the story. So he stayed there because his wife was pregnant. He wanted to stay there and take care of the wife, but he's there illegally. So what he needed to do was contact the offices he had to go to, wherever that particularly would be, in order to say, I would like to extend my visa on the basis that my wife is pregnant and she is a U.S. citizen. Until such time that I get my U.S. citizenship, I'll leave the country right after the child gives birth. Is there any way we could do this? And work with them. They may have even said, we need to send you out of the country temporarily, but we can re-register you, let's say in 2 months, and then you can come back here and you can help take care of her or something. On top of that, there's another option. Send her to Peru. She can come back anytime she wants. She's a U.S. citizen. Send her to Peru if you want to take care of the baby. Or you get U.S. citizenship. But stop whining about, your woes when you both are not a part of the same country. So the question is, because if she was naturally born U.S. citizen and he married her, he can get U.S. citizenship almost instantly, right? I mean, you have to go through the paperwork and do all this stuff, but they speed up that process for people who've been married on those terms. So that's why, Tanya and I are both questioning, when did she actually get citizenship? And they're not going to say, because that makes a big factor in deciding what's right and what's wrong here. But you see, NBC doesn't want you to decide what's right and wrong. They just want you to believe what they tell you.
It doesn't give a time or a day, but maybe I should have read the whole sentence. Maybe this helps. It says, Sitcha, who is a U.S. citizen, became pregnant, and he stayed to help care for their family. But anyway, so it kind of, to me, makes it sound like it was before she was pregnant, she was a citizen, U.S. citizen. I don't know if that's the case or not. But it continues. We call on ICE to...
I mean, whether or not she was a U.S. citizen before she got pregnant or not, actually, I don't think has any relevance to the issue. Because again, I mean, we have the whole issue of, because I just released that article on abortion, you guys remember? And I don't want to get into the subject because people are going to like bear down on me already, where I tried to explain that Roe versus Wade thing that I did. I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'm not even going to bring it up in this broadcast, because if you want to understand it, go read that. Okay. Which a lot of people will not do. And I'm just waiting to get the hate mail that I'm going to get over saying that. But what I said was a fact. Okay. And so because of that, the personage issue with the corporation, whether or not the child, whether she was conceived at the time, she had conceived at the time she got U.S. citizenship or not, is really going to be irrelevant to the point. It has to wait until birth to get a birth certificate.
We call on ICE to immediately release immigrants being detained and end deportations. Our communities are suffering, a spokeswoman for the group said. The couple has a son in the U.S. Air Force and a 13-year-old daughter. End of article. And I saw some video that they had on their website. They were saying that the reason this happened was because Trump passed something or something like that, where they have to deport people if they're eligible, if they're supposed to be deported. They can't just ignore it.
Okay, wait. Trump had to pass a bill to enforce a law. Do you understand that? He had to say, guys, it's lawful that we enforce our laws. We want to make sure that all of our laws are being followed. Now, okay, change the, okay, you have to deport someone law when their visa's up. Let's change that to, you are not allowed to break the window of a convenience store and steal money out of the cash register. Now, if, let's say nobody was enforcing that, and Trump passed a bill saying, look, we have a new law that says you now have to abide by the law, which is dumb, first of all. But then that's like MSNBC coming back and saying, look at this poor family here. Here's a poor, family of gangsters, and they broke into this window and stole a bunch of money because they really needed an Xbox. So, I mean, why are we thinking about the people who actually run the convenience store and own the property and all that? I mean, guys, what about these poor gangsters? They really needed this game system. There's no other way they could get it but to steal this money. And Trump, he's the problem. He's why we cannot protect these thieves. We're protecting criminals. And then the news media tells us, guys, we should shed tears, not protect criminals. Give us Barabbas.
Well, and I agree with you, Chris. And the end of that article really made it sound very shady to me, because they have a 13-year-old and an adult child together, and he still does not have citizenship in the United States. They're not giving us the whole story, and I'm so sick of the fake media stuff going on.
That's an excellent point. I had thought about that. I just didn't say anything when you said it, but you made an excellent point. There's obviously something else that's going on here. If they have children, I mean, if they're doing this much in the United States, I mean, they had enough to purchase a house, right? Because it's not like they're renting, because they wouldn't have said the phrase lose their home, right? They had enough time and money and personal involvement, whatever, because obviously pastors, they make quite a bit nowadays anyway, right? Because that's what he was doing. Isn't that his profession? Didn't she say at the beginning? He's a pastor?
Well, yeah, he said he was a pastor of 10 to 20 people in his home.
Oh, 10 to 20 people. Okay, whatever. They may have given him the property. I don't know what it was, right? But they've been here long enough to have that, and have the children do that. Why hasn't he filed? Well, part of the reason probably was because he got his visa, and when he came to this country, they told him, look, other people that probably had it, people that he's met while he's there, because I bet he's met some other people from Peru or other people who have visas. They probably said, look, the United States doesn't take it that seriously, so just hang out here. Even if it expires, don't worry about it. And then Trump came along and said, look, we're going to start enforcing the law. And they're like, wait, that's not fair. Maybe that's not fair on Mars. And that's the reason they're going to Mars. They want to put a colony for the real aliens.
The article, there's another article called Inside Nova, that or website or news reporter. Same article. I just want to read a quotation. It says, maybe the president hears it, looks it up, and some family will, like me, maybe has an opportunity to live with their whole family together. Such I said, maybe someone will listen to us and it helps. So it's
maybe someone will listen to us. Maybe our little woes of our family in the house that we don't have when our dad didn't bother to get U.S. citizenship, maybe that will, really take precedence over a $20 trillion debt and rising. Maybe that's really going to take precedence, and Trump will really care about what's going on with criminals. They never use the word criminal because that's what they're doing. When you break the law, you are a criminal. All right? And it's not like he's made up false evidence against them, because even MSNBC says, look, their visa has expired. Okay, expired, and you're still here. You broke the law. You are a criminal. And criminals need to stop being given special privilege because they don't have particular rights. Okay? That's what I'm saying, is that we're treating our criminals better. I mean, you go back to, which war was it I was thinking of where I was reading about that, where I can't remember if it was even in the Gulf War or the one I was reading about, in which there were members of the other army who were trying to get captured on purpose because they got treated better in American prisons than they did in their own military. And so that's how bad it's getting most of the time. I'm not saying not to be charitable to people, but the government does not have any involvement in the charity and welfare of the people. The government has involvement in the punishment of evildoers. Now, if the charity and welfare needs to be given to prisoners, that would be up to the church to do, right? Not up to the government to do. And so that's just giving examples of all sorts of stuff. We could go into talk about all sorts of things. But getting back to the topic of illegals, Trump is doing what's correct. No, I'm not saying that like I said, I didn't support Trump or Hillary. I'm just saying what he's doing is making people follow the law. And then MSNBC says, oh no, following the law, that's horrible. That doesn't support our liberalist social justice warrior agenda.
In our next article, another article.
Here we go. I like what Kevin says. Hang on. Kevin was pointing out a problem. He says there's a problem solved here. He says there's people in Peru that desperately need to hear the gospel. So why isn't he there? That's a good point. He's here for the money. That's what he's here for, because they know that pastors do make money over here. Why? I mean, in Peru, I would say based on things I have read about Peru, and I'm not saying I'm any kind of Peruvian expert. Please don't misunderstand. I'm saying the small amount that I've read about Peru, I think they need the teaching of the word far more over there. But you see, in a poorer country like Peru, the prosperity gospel just doesn't work as well, does it?
Right. And another article from The Independent is titled, Animal Expert Causes Backlash by Posing with Crocodile Bound in Duct Tape. An animal expert who caught a crocodile has
read that one more time. I want to read that title one more time.
Animal expert causes backlash by posing with crocodile bound in duct tape.
Oh, so he bound his mouth in duct tape. Okay, sorry. Yeah. See, my first image was a mummified crocodile mummified in duct tape.
Right.
I was like, you're going a little bit overboard. I think that's a waste of duct tape, because I think duct tape is meant for ducks, right? I know what duct tape means, by the way. All those that don't start sending me emails saying, Chris, you don't know what duct tape is. I know how it's spelled. I know what it's for. It's a joke, okay?
An animal expert who caught a crocodile has triggered a backlash against after he posted a photo of himself proudly crouching beside the massive reptile with its snout bound in duct tape. Explorer Matt Wright uploaded the snap online after posing next to the mammoth-sized creature in an unidentified...
I can already guess what they're going to do. How horrible they treated this crocodile. Do these pansy, hippie, social justice warrior, animal-loving, tree-hugging hippies, do they honestly think that this crocodile is going to end up in a zoo? Because leather is made from crocodile skins, and crocodiles offer a lot of delicious meat. So if they think that the duct tape is horrible treatment, it's only to keep his mouth closed. Crocodiles keep their mouths closed anyway, all day long, all the time. The only time they open them is to eat something delicious, like one of your precious little antelopes you're trying to protect, or other things like that.
Who are walking on water, they might open their mouth to eat one
Correct.
of them.
I totally forgot. The pastors are delicious, okay? And that's when they open their mouths. So all day, they sleep with them closed, they swim around with them closed. They're closed all the time, except the difference is that once you have the crocodile in captivity, all he wants to do is eat people, because people are delicious, and he doesn't like being tied up. So they're going to kill him, but they need to make sure that he's bound properly so they don't, even some of these guys are trying to, I hate to use the term humane with animals, but that's the term that they use. It actually doesn't make any sense when you really think about it. But the point is to kill them quickly and not be a torturous, horrible person out for blood. If they were to do that, number one, you'd be wrestling with a crocodile, which endangers the person involved, duh. And number two, in that you risk only stabbing the crocodile in certain vital places, which means it's going to take a long time to bleed out, and it's going to suffer and die a really long time before it actually dies. So such things are actually more humane than you think that they are.
In this picture, it showed a picture. It showed the picture. The crocodile's
something. The church went into the water and retrieved his sandals and underwear. I said, you gonna put him on a shrine and light some candles or something? I can't. I'm not saying I'm not sad for their loss. I mean, but The guy had it coming. And they went into the water to retrieve his sandals and underwear. Okay, you can continue. Sorry.
Yeah. The crocodile, from what I could tell, looked like it was at least 12 feet long. It was a big crocodile. That's probably why he took a picture of it. But it continues. Explorer Matt Wright uploaded the snap online after posting next to the mammoth-sized creature in an unidentified area in the outback in Australia. And
I love how they say the mammoth-sized creature when they don't even know that's one of the small ones. If they talk to the pygmies, they can find out about the big ones. The big ones, from the different reports that I've got from over there, because even I think I've got a picture of one somewhere that they said was 15 feet. Because most of the time, the average scientist will tell you, oh, crocodiles, things like that, they don't get over 12 feet long. That's not true. That is absolutely not true. Alligators and crocodiles get much bigger than that. And the pygmies, I've seen reports of anywhere between 30 and 50 feet. Still around today. And especially places like the Amazon. What people don't understand is the Amazon River is 9 miles wide. The average person, I don't think, understands how big 9 miles is. It's an incredibly long distance for a river, and it is also incredibly deep. The Amazon River gets deeper than many lakes. And so when out there is a swamp-like area in which crocodiles thrive in areas like that, and they can get incredibly big. So just because they're limited in a zoo somewhere does not mean they would be limited out in the wild where people and generally scientists don't travel, because they're like, why would I risk my life out there? I'm just going to assume I know everything there is to know in the safety here. And then the tribals who actually live in those areas say, look, you guys are wrong. We got stuff much bigger out here. They're like, oh, you're just a bunch of ignorant morons, while they sit back sipping tea in their air-conditioned offices, and they think they know everything there is to know. It's ridiculous.
Yep. He captioned the photo "Big Fella." The photo on Facebook, which showed a rope tied around the animal's neck, went viral and attracted more than 4,000 likes and hundreds of shares among his 60,000 followers. But the post also caused an angry response, with critics lashing out at the National Geographic TV presenter over the layers of tape wrapped around the reptile's head. Did you get enough on him? Sally Jo Famlanga said. Hope that's not staying on for too long, poor boy.
Okay, so when they do it the right way this time, and instead they fade in the scene onto a man holding, he's like, here we have this crocodile. He's missing 4 fingers in his left leg, and his partner is missing an ear and his right arm, and they're bleeding out all over the ground. There's blood and everything over the crocodile's mouth. That's a politically correct scene.
Dean,
because duct tape, that's offensive. I just want to make sure we understand that duct tape's offensive.
Dean Anderman said he could see no reason why the crocodile was caught in the first place. Leave the poor animal alone, he said. And Carol Park replied, I can't stand crocodiles, alligators, whatever you want to call them. Yes, he is huge, but time to take the tape off and let him go. Others were quick to leap to the defense.
Okay, whoever that was, I'm going to say ma'am, because I'm assuming it was a woman. Okay, ma'am, you are welcome to come out and take the tape off yourself.
Well, and I thought it was sad.
In fact, by the way, I will send her, I just want to mention this, I will send you, ma'am, I will personally pay for your plane ticket to go out to wherever that is and take that tape off his mouth yourself. If you will do it by hand, I will pay for your trip. I guarantee it. I would, as long as I'm allowed, as long as we get to film it, I will pay for your trip. I want to see it. It will be worth the money.
I just am shocked that she couldn't tell the difference between an alligator and a crocodile, because animal lovers know the difference.
Others were quick to leap to the defense of Mr. Wright, who is known as the Outback Wrangler in his role as a presenter for National Geographic series Wild. It's a crocodile. They've been around since the dinosaurs, Jay Ryan said. I'm sure he doesn't mind a bit of tape around on his snout. Rebecca D. Veris praised Mr. Wright for catching the animals any passers-by safe from the dangerous creature. Andrew Buckley pointed out that the reptiles didn't pose a threat in populated areas as they were more likely to be shot on sight. Most of the time, these crocs are being relocated as they have clashed with humans, livestock, and are so good if people don't relocate them. Some rednecks...
See, what people do is, and I got to mention this, what these I got to call them hippies because it really hits home. What they really do is they sit back in the safety of their culture and they go out and watch movies like, I don't know, pick a Disney movie that's got all the animals in it, or they got, what's that new one they did with the all the zoo animals, Zootopia, right? I think that's what it's called, that movie, where they got a bunch of animals together. I just saw the previews of it, and you could tell that it's dumb. But what they're doing is that they're putting a bunch of animals around in this movie, all friendly-like together. And what they don't understand is that most of these animals that they're looking at are disease-ridden, crop-destroying, life-destroying, life-threatening, dangerous animals that need to be killed on sight in most cultures around the world. And we're teaching our children, oh, they're fun and friendly. When they don't realize, I mean, they'll have little movies about little mice, you know, like I think, what was the movies they made when I was younger? Like The Great Mouse Detective, stuff like that. These mice they destroy crops and homes. We set traps for them and we kill them. I mean, snap, done. I hear it downstairs. I'm like, oh, there's a snap. Go get him and kill him. You know, I had to kill about 10 of them last year. We're working on sealing up the place where we live as best we can because we're refurbishing everything, okay? But the thing is, these things destroy the crops as well. I mean, we got things like, oh, they have little cute groundhogs. Groundhogs destroy our crops and our livelihood. Lorraine has a market business. We have to kill these things. We have our dog go out and kill them. Okay, and he's not nice to them, okay? He's not going to kill them humanely. He's going to kill them like an animal kills them, all right? And we say, good doggy, okay? That's what we do. And we give him treats for that. He gets special cookies when he kills a mole or a groundhog or something like that, right? So anyway, the thing is, what was the point I was getting to? They have this thing like, oh, all these things are nice and friendly. The last time I remember reading a report about crocodiles when I was doing research on some of the bigger animals and things like that back when I was doing the pre-flood world thing, which anybody wants to read that, go to creationliberty.com. Just type in the word world, W-O-R-L-D, into the search bar, or type in the word flood, F-L-O-O-D, something like that, into the search bar at creationliberty.com. By the way, I didn't say type it into YouTube. I just found out recently there's a bunch of people that's been doing that. When I say that on a teaching, I'm talking about creationliberty.com. Go to the website and type that in, not YouTube. That's where you're going to find a lot of that. You might find some of it, but you're not going to find all of it. So I'm saying that if you go to creationliberty.com, look at that, you can see more about it. But the last story I remember reading just off the top of my head about a crocodile was they were going, a little girl had gone out. It was somebody's, I think it was a little girl, their daughter was maybe about 8 years old or something. And they were walking along a path and they didn't know a crocodile was there, jumped out and ate her. Chomp, done. They do not mess around. Okay, these crocodiles, I think that, I can't remember exactly where that was, but I thought that one was in the US. I can't remember the exact location where it was, okay? But the people, like if you go to Florida, I mean, or places where they have crocodiles down there, I don't know whether you go down to Louisiana or places, different areas like that where you've got a little bit more swampy area. I mean, they don't mess around with stuff like that. Those are really scary instances, and they will kill on sight. So if the only reason that these people sit back and say that is because they're sitting back in their cushy, comfy homes, they have never even seen a crocodile in their life. They have no idea about what hide is on the back of an animal like that, knowing that duct tape. They're like, well, duct tape, when it goes on us and comes off, it hurts us. That's because you don't have hide. You don't know what hide is. I mean, you could, very well take a blade to one of those crocodiles and not pierce its skin if you don't hit it the right way, because it's tough. It's hard to do, okay? So anyway, the point is that they don't take it seriously because they've never had the run-in with one. And so I would be glad National Geographic capture a few of those alligators, bring them out to their house, and we will have an Alligators Eat the Hippie spectacular. We can raise money for charity.
And the article continues. Most times these crocs are being relocated as they have clashed with humans, livestock, and so if good people don't relocate them, some redneck will just shoot them. So he's saying if we don't relocate them, some redneck's going to shoot them. Australian redneck. But anyways, that's the end of the article.
Even if they do relocate them, same thing's probably going to happen. Now, he'll probably get in there and he'll die from some other creature or something along those lines is going to happen. And so they don't ever report on that because they don't follow up afterwards.
Yeah. So if there's no more thoughts for today, I suppose we'll close out. Then thank you, everybody who has joined us here for this discussion. If you'd like to talk with us, you can join us on the forum. Just post an introduction, let us know who we're talking with, and hope we have a wonderful day. And Lord willing, we're going to see you next week.